talk about literature search, it seems like this area has, because it's private property, there is very little literature on it, and that what it takes is primary research.
Absolutely, and that is one of the issues that will come out in our report, for sure. As far as I understand, there's two specific pieces of work that discuss the Coral Bluffs locality, a dissertation and a paper, and again, we haven't looked closely at them, but from what I understand, they are not focused solely on that site, that site is part of a much broader Denver Basin study, and we'll know much more. I'll be able to talk much more about this on the 29th because we'll have read through this, we'll have put our report together.
Isn't this more of a scoping process than an actual study? It seems to me.
Absolutely.
It seems to me that what you're going to have to come back with is a recommendation for a series of studies, if indeed this is what we think it is, and I think there's every reason to think it is, and that in reality we could be looking at 6 months or a year or even 5 to 10 years of studies that this piece of land really deserves before it's carved up. Is that?
I understand what you're saying. I know you'd like me to say that right now. The only reason I'm uncomfortable saying it is because we have not done the research ourselves, and once we do, we won't be afraid of saying something like that if that's what we feel needs to be done.
The two studies that you alluded to, the ones done by the Colorado Natural
Heritage, it's one of them is a dissertation, and it's from I think 1983, and the other is a paper that occurred in the Rocky Mountain Geologist with a series of papers on the Denver Formation. So.
When you're looking at this property, are you familiar with the Colorado Natural Areas program?
No.
I guess I'd ask you to maybe do a little research into what that program is. And as it's a program of state parks.
Okay.
And as you're looking at the property, come up with some preliminary thoughts of whether there should be further study to determine whether this would qualify, this and some of the surrounding private properties, as a Colorado natural area.
Okay.
I think that would be a great thing for us to do once our initial survey is complete, because once the survey is complete, we'll have a lot more information, and then we'll actually make a recommendation to the planning, the master planning board that's trying to make this park, the proposed park. And when they have our information, then our job is done.
So to the best of my knowledge, which is not necessarily that good, I've made little marks where he found those projectile marks. And so I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of research that would have to be done. Again, primary research, because I don't know if there is any primary research on it.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. There is a lot of research that still needs to be done out on the property, and that's why we've hired a paleontologist and a archaeologist to help guide us and to recognize things. That's what is out there, and direct us in what the best course of action is.
I guess you're going to probably say we have to ask Mr. Wolken how he's going to get this done by June 10th.
That would be a great question for Mr. Wolken.
Are any of these things that might be added to the board, an encouraging of primary research and encouragement of analyzing the timeline?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was just curious, the preliminary survey, how much time do you anticipate spending on that?
Two of us will be out there for half of the day, for about 5 hours.
And that's all the current contract is?
That's correct.
And that's 700 plus acres?
We will not be covering every inch of the property.
How much do you think you can
There's a
cover?
more specific question. Is it 522 acres, or does it include all of the property that's proposed for the dirt bike park?
For now, it's 522. That's where we're doing our research.
Though much of the rest of it is within the KT boundary. Why would that, I guess, why don't you write that up as a question for Mr. Wolken? why is the bulk of the property being ignored? Why is only 522 acres being surveyed?
Does your agreement go beyond the 29th contract with Kennedy?
You know, I actually don't know the answer to that question. The PI would know the answer to that question. Does the agreement go beyond the 29th for our particular contract?
For their services.
Yeah.
Is it common in these initial preliminary studies to spend that amount of time on that large of an area?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that.
Can you repeat the
It's
question?
a large area, and we will be very selective about where we're going, and we will base where we're going on known fossil localities, which will be the result of our locality searches in the museums, and on what we observe in the field. That is, we'll focus on areas of exposed bedrock and not on areas of heavy vegetation where we rarely find fossils. So we can get good work done in 5 hours, but I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be an incomplete survey, which is why it's simply preliminary, and all we'll be able to do is make recommendations about how to move forward, what further analysis needs to be done.
I was just curious if there's, and you've been very clear on that, I was just curious if there's, if to your knowledge, is there any precedent for the type of methodology, including hours and acreage, to your knowledge, to make these kinds of recommendations?
Well, I'm not sure that there's a precedent. I know, given often, you know, when we're contracted, we'll be given information about an area, and then we'll bid on getting that contract to do the surveys, and we'll base that on, you know, how thorough a job needs to be done and how many man hours it'll take and everything involved. And in this case, we had a limited amount of time and money, and we'll do the best we can with it.
How were the parameters set? Did the county set them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what, I mean, was it a certain amount of money that they said we had to spend?
I'm sorry, I don't actually, again, the PI has that information. I don't know the answer to that question. I honestly don't know.
The PI?
Paul Murphy, he's the principal investigator for this project.